Good morning, good afternoon, evening, or night, wherever it's at with you. I hope you're doing fine. We are on our last day, our very, very last day of the new account streaming. This is day 30. I kind of wanted to stop at some point on this because otherwise it's just becoming a no more account. And I am really, really happy with how far we've gotten and our success rate and what we've been able to accomplish. Just to give you one more real quick recap over where things stand as they are, we haven't made any kind of push for ranked. I don't know, I just haven't been putting a lot of time into it. Like it didn't make a lot of sense, and we haven't been doing any of the limited like drafting in order to move this matter up as well. But if we click on this set collection over here, you can kind of get a sense. We got 71% of the cards in the current set, according to this. That's pretty solid. There's not too many left in the common and uncommon zone, but there are still a few that are out there. We ended up accomplishing almost half the rare cards and then just a quarter of the mythic. So certainly plenty more for us to go after. If we ever got to the point where we collected enough gems or we sort of hoarded some of the money, we could go into quick drafts that are available maybe in this set to really round out specifically one set collection. But we've also got a little bit over 50% of Kamigawa, which is really good, about 50% of Brothers War, which is great. And then these are a little bit behind Streets of New Capenna, Dominaria United, and then this is going to be fading out here really soon, just in a couple months. There will be a new set released next week. And so a little bit of these things kind of fade to the back, but sometimes they'll also cycle them back into the quick draft cycle, which is probably the best way to just capture what you're looking for. Um, if you're trying to get into the completionist kind of deal. But for 30 days, getting halfway home on most of the current sets and standard is pretty cool stuff. We've also just had a good time. We haven't really been super frustrated playing this account. I've spent a little bit of time in the jump-ins, which is a slower pace, and it doesn't allow us to um, just fly through whatever we're trying to do. But we've had an opportunity to build some of my more favorite decks I've built in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. On the other account, I've got every card known to man, and we keep going up against some of the strongest decks, and so it feels like there's only one or two kinds of decks. Sometimes that works really, really well. But when I look at this deck, protect the Fae, like this idea that we were going to draw cards in order to create pumps for our our little fairy vandals. It's just a cool idea, and I had never really done anything like it. So getting an opportunity to do this and then seeing it work was really kind of fun. The other thing that I really like is I've had a lot of trouble with Is It controllers. Is It is when you have red and blue in the same deck, and this has turned out to be a really neat deck too. Lots of ways to kind of like bounce and burn and build these flyers or these evasive creatures, while some of your other stuff gets an opportunity to get ready when you have enough mana on board. You can pop these guys, or if you've got enough spells in the graveyard, you can pop these guys. But it's got a really nice power curve to it. It's got a really nice sort of evolving kind of creature base where if you lose a fairy vandal, it's okay. If you lose a ledger sledger, it's okay. Because there's more, and if you don't, it's okay. You can still get a Maniform Hellkite and then just start casting your spells to double that, or you get your Forge out there and you just let that kind of continue to take over. Maybe you just throw out some Tolarian Terrors. These are all threats that are really, really good in the game. And so it's kind of fun to build a deck like this that performs pretty good, but it's got a lot of fun to it. It's got a lot of variance to it. It's got a lot of like play paths to success, if that makes sense. Focusing on what's going on right now, a little bit less on the past. There is a new midweek magic, which gives us a rare card for the first win, a rare card for the second win, and a what's it called? A cosmetic for the third. Mormir is an interesting mechanic. So you get this little emblem that sits on the side, and basically what it says is, based on the amount of mana that you spend, you get a creature, a token of a random creature put on your deck. So you have no idea what comes next. The real cost of doing business here is the the cost of the card that you have to discard. So, you know, you can do it on turn one in order to put a turn one creature that's out there, but there's not a lot of value for doing that necessarily. And you're going to spend a card, and that's a card that you're not going to have on turn six. And if you could spend the 6 mana on turn six, you get a much, much more valuable creature. So there's kind of a rhythm to it. There's kind of an interesting play cycle. You don't have to build a deck. You don't have to come in with anything, and you don't even know what the cards are that are coming your way. It's kind of cool. I've won much more than I've lost in it. I do think that like being adaptable is kind of the key in your play style. Cast 20 blue or green spells for 500 gold. We say we want more gold. Pay us. I want my money and I want it now. White or blue spells instead. That's all we got as far as the change is concerned. So no reason for us to go after that just yet. Let's see if we can do the Mormir and if we can get some rares while we're trying to see if we can get some blue or you know, whatever the case is. So let's start here. Be a good way for us to get the 1,000 gold, do the jump in, and then get as much as we can out of our cards. All right, so they give you 60 lands. Then they give you all these little goofy cards along the way that have a bunch of different colors. And so sometimes it's worth looking at like and saying like, what is this? It's a can't attack or block. So it's basically a removal spell for white and blue. So if I've got a white mountain or if I've got a white plains, I can cast it, but I don't. So I'm just going to click next, and I'm not going to do anything because the orange man, I wonder who he's referring to. Oh, look, we got the white, which is good. So I am going to do one on turn two because I do think that there's nothing wrong with having just a little bit of board presence. You know, is better than none. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get to gain a life. Yeah. It's kind of card that I've seen Sparky use against us. Nothing exciting about that. But he's a 2/2 for 2, right? And there's a 2/1 for 2, draw 2. So cool beans. There's no way we're going to use our deal there. We'll say all attack. And if he wants to offer the trade, we'll take it. What does this guy get? Draw 2 cards. Yeah, I'd rather him not get the opportunity to get those cards. Because like I said before, the real cost in this is your cards. And so by skipping a turn like that, I definitely am giving him an opportunity to put a creature on the board that I would get a chance to attack into or not. But I'm also making sure that he's getting a 3 mana creature and I'm getting an opportunity at a 4 mana creature. And I would much rather be in that kind of play cycle than the opposite. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you gain 2 life. And then during your turn, you can exile this card and cast it later for the foretell cost. The foretell is nothing big. Casting 2 spells in a turn is not really a thing here. So there's not much going on. Do like this guy as a board pump if we end up getting all the way down to the later stages of the game. But for now, nah. We'll do 4. We'll just get rid of another mountain. We're going to hold on to these 2. And we got a flyer, which isn't bad. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, this guy will get a +1. So it's kind of like a 3/4 flyer because we're going to probably be putting creatures in the board almost every turn now. So that's really good. I'll take it. Ooh. I love the old art like on those things. I'm just going to let that go. Unfortunately, though, this is going to become a major problem. So the choices that we have here are throw King Darien down, get the +1 counter on him, have King Darien give the +1 to him as well. So now he's a 4/5. He can survive the hit, but he can't kill this creature. So I think we just got to keep going. That was a really good draw on his part. This guy's not bad at all. Willing to do this, and then I might end up. Oh, when a enters the battlefield, return target to an owner's hand. Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah. So that was really good because he can't keep that. It's not a card in his hand. It's a bounce spell that ends up being a removal spell. And that's pretty solid. So we got very, very lucky on that one. I will consider using the Law Mage's Binding on whomever comes next. Although we're not close to the end here. We're just getting started. Um, I think we've already got everything we wanted out of this creature, so we'll just do this. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to a target equal to the number of creatures you control. So that's how we took the two. I don't think I want 10 to the pests. Um, I don't think I care about the 3 damage coming back too hard. I really want to see a bigger creature. You know, it's gonna take forever at this stage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do think we would get rid of 10 to the pests as the discard in there because it's the card that has the least amount of value for us. Flying and vigilance and other creatures you control have vigilance. That's pretty awesome. It's kind of like a nice little board pump to make sure that we're always available on defense and we never have to be too concerned about attacking in if there's a lane for us to do it, or even if they're just going to frustrate them, kind of put them on their back foot. Sorry, I've got never-ending problems with my allergies, it seems like. I feel like I've snorted through all 30 days of this. Hello. That is definitely the kind of card that we bind. Say bye-bye. Yeah, I'll attack. I'm going to hold off on doing anything. I might want to use the King Darien on the next creature. You can definitely see how the power level goes up quite a bit that's in here. Uh, I do think that we'll take the bigger body now at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is great, and getting a +1 on one creature is just not that exciting. So we'll take the 8. Um, Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type and then destroy said lands. Yeah, he's mad. So he can't attack in. We can't attack. He's dead in 2. I was going to just destroy some lands that he had more of and I had less of, kind of deal. But it's enough to say, like, that's the end of the game. Like I said, you have to really pay attention to your resources in the cards, not so much on the mana. You're almost always going to draw a mana, so not too concerned about that. And if you end up with something like a removal spell, you really want to make sure you're using it in the best way, shape, or form. So let's see what the rare card was that we got. Um, bum, 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 bum. There's probably a deck out there that does this well. So for 3 mana, you're gonna get a land on the table. And there are a ton of cards that say like get an for 3 mana, go get a card out of your graveyard and put it on the battlefield or something like that. And so everybody is like, these are the best ramp cards ever. And then there's this one. It has all the active available abilities of all land cards in all graveyards. So it's not really good in the beginning, right? You're gonna want to be in a mill deck, I guess, something that like in constantly putting lands into the graveyard. And I'm trying to think like what would be good land abilities to gain for Mirren Save House, like the Murex, the Plaza of Heroes. Both of those cards do something. What the Murex, um, I think it's the one that gives you like a 1/1 Toxic Might for 3 mana, and then the Plaza of Heroes allows you to sacrifice it in order to protect a legendary hero for 1 turn and give them hexproof. So you can kind of save one of your creatures. Um, both of those are pretty solid abilities, but there's a lot of work you got to do. Like you got to get one of those land cards into your graveyard first. Then you got to pay the 3 mana for Mirren Safe House to happen, and then you've got to have it in an ability to be tapped. So it's got to get through the rest of the turn on the Safe House before you're able to get a chance to utilize the target that's on it, or the ability that's on it. I'd have to go back and look at all the different land types to see is there something there that we think is like, yeah, for sure. Like, if we could find 4 lands or 5 lands and put them into the graveyard, is there something there that for us to achieve? We're going to try this again, but we did get the 1,000 gold off the 1 wind. So we are at the point where we're ready to do our next jump in, and we are doing pretty solid. So, we're familiar with this hand. We need a blue, and we need a white, and then we just need a third one. What's this guy say? You have a Morit of the Frost. Enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow. If it's a creature, it enters with 2+1 counters on it and has a changeling. That's actually really pretty solid, and it turns out, we've got the green and a blue already good to go. So I guess I'm going to hold on to that card for a minute because it's not bad once you get into like the, you know, how big is this thing going to get kind of like deal. We need one more blue to get there. So we'll just say next and end. I want to hold on to a card if I can. I don't mind him having a 1/1 flyer. This thing taps something when it comes in, but there wasn't much to tap. Oh, a hasty creature, huh? What'd you get? When it enlists a non-token creature, you can conjure a duplicate of that. Whenever enlists a non-token creature, which he's not going to have any, so it's just a 2/1 flyer, essentially. That's what we're dealing with over there. I don't think we want to give him too much against us. So 2, and we do want that second blue land. So as long as we're not passing off a blue land, we're feeling fine. Yuck. That's bad. It does block the 2/1, so yay. But I'm not excited about this. Yeah. All right. There's that blue land that we wanted to make sure hits the deck so that we are in a better position to cast Morit of the Frost in a couple of turns. We'll do 3 here and see if we are still lucky. Whoa! There's nothing. There's nothing in the graveyard, I can tell you that. So we can search our library for the word rune, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's all land, and none of this is runes. Unfortunately, that's what happens. There's just no way he's going to sacrifice his 2 for 1. We'll just end up getting blocked by this thing, which this hurts. But if he sends them both in for 3 damage, we can crack back for 3 and kind of put him in a tougher spot. So it's not the worst. When it enters the battlefield, you pay 1 rather than mana cost for rune spells. Yeah, kind of a swing and a miss a few times. Swing for 3. Good on you. He didn't use his stuff either. I guess he was feeling the pain. I don't think I'm ready for the Law like Binder's Mage yet. So we've got 4 here. Come on, give me a flyer. We'll get rid of 10 to the pests. Come on, 4. Oh my god. We got annihilated. So I'm pretty sure we're dead at this moment, right? Because he just countered our one and only spell that we could do. It did cost him a card. There is still a chance that a bomb comes in and stabilizes us and saves the day. 4/4 with reach isn't too bad. I don't think he would send all, but we could definitely trade out the Ertai. Not sure what the 2/1. Yeah. No? Yeah, yeah. No? Yeah, no, yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa. He got enlisted. Yeah, well, that's not that big a deal, right? That's it. That's all I can do on the blocking front. So it's another 3 damage, right? That's just what it is. Things that I worry about. A 4/4 body's pretty good. This is, unfortunately, we got very, very little of value out of our little random rolls. Who knows what we would have got in the last one? It would have been exciting. We definitely have the cards to stabilize back here. Tap a target opponent creature and put a stun counter on it. Um, I dig it. I guess I would just stun that thing because it's his biggest threat, and we can actually get in for a wee bit of damage. There's only a few things that we can block on the ground, and that means Urtai is blockable. So we have good ground cover, and we don't have anything in the sky working our way. I'm hoping, I'm not hoping, but his big threat here is something that we could bind. Each creature deals damage to itself. My man is big on the removal. I think we're dead. Like, I just don't see a lot of answers here for us unless something magical happens. 4, 5, 6. So I'm just going next and saying nothing, and we just messed up. We went out of order there, and it's probably already over. A 5/5 doesn't stop the guys, so we're just going to do a concede because the removal spells were pretty brilliant between Urtai and the other one. He was able to do a good job of stopping us at the worst moment for us. I got to hand it to him. He definitely had the better play pattern there. We had the removal spell, but he didn't seem to have anything that was super threatening. We just got whittled by losing out on that turn 4 and not really hitting anything that had major effect on turn 6. Just a 5/5 with trample. There's nothing wrong with just a 5/5 with trample, but it doesn't win the game for you. Definitely would probably get rid of this. It's really expensive. By the time you get to that stage in the game, you're not really needing to double up, your power, because usually you're attacking with enough power as it is. So we'll do a 2 here. And I will get rid of Mr. Ophio. Oh my goodness. An 0/4 that could disturb theoretically for 6. I don't see myself doing that on a token that we can't ever get into the graveyard, but that's fun. Alright, so let's do it again. Let's go with 3. And we'll get rid of this. This is also kind of a filler card that doesn't do a lot for us. Not much on the attack front. Yeah, I guess that's not going to happen either, huh? I mean, we might get lucky, but he's not a merfolk. We might get some Murgal folks. Oh, that's really good, actually, for us. He does have the opportunity to sacrifice another creature to make another one of those, but I don't think that well, is this an artifact? Yeah, no, it's not. It's an emblem. So I don't think he can use this as power for that. 4, and we've got enough cards. Let's just keep going. We might get an ETB effect that helps us. If not, it's okay. We're still in good position. This creature deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of times this creature's been mutated. It costs 3 to mutate. Put it under or over a target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top with all. Yeah, that's stupid. That's not going to help. Oh, that is so good. I did not know. Oh, 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 oh. Attack away, my friend. Attack away. So gaining the card draw is just, yeah, like insane. That would have been nuts. But even just the one card is enough to say we're way ahead now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This rooster thingy is no good. We'll hold on to our removal spell that we actually have the mana out for. So if he ends up bringing up something scary, whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, discard a permanent, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So, hey, check you out. You might be coming onto the battlefield. We'll just attack. We have a really nice defense. We have a pretty solid offense, and he's going to be down to about half his health pretty soon here. So I am not feeling bad at all about how this one's going. Let's see what he gets. A Tegrid, whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you can put that card from a graveyard under your control. Put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Yeah, sure. Whoop. Thanks for the land. He's like, what? Yeah, that was mean. This is way overpowered in this deck or in this setup because it means that every time he has to discard a card to cast a creature, I get an extra mana and leapfrog an entire turn up ahead. Those two cards that we got, the one that draws when we attack and the one that steals the land, is yeah, that's like that's just unfair. So, it's random. It's not a skill-based game, but it is skill in the sense that you have to figure out what you're going to do with the things. Like what is your path to victory? Uh, this is good. They don't seem that exciting until you try to live without them, and then they're like, ugh, my lands are a problem. My lands are a problem. Well, now our lands are not a problem in what is that? Golgari? I don't know what the color. Red and green. Let's just go with that. We could do this one more time, but it's 6 o'clock. Yeah, let's just go do the jump in. We'll come back. The cosmetic is the cosmetic. We're more interested in gathering the cards at this moment right now. We can come back and try that at the end. But let's just take a quick look in the jump in. And just to recap, we were able to get a Defiler of Faith on the last one, and we were able to get us our fourth copy of the Raven Man, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so pretty good. Um, I mean, certainly on the daily basis, pretty good for using your free gold kind of deal. Uh, as time goes on, my suggestion, pretty much at this point, it would be it's probably a good time to stop shifting away from doing it this way, like doing it through jump-ins in order to getting the most amount of value for each piece of gold, and instead start to focus on some things. Oops, sorry. Start to focus on some things like doing drafts because you can gain a lot of cards very, very quickly. And if you have any skill in the draft, the cost is very, very minimal. It does cost you 750 gems or 5,000 gold to get into a quick draft, but you're going to get an opportunity to pick 42 cards out of that set or 43 cards. You're going to get a first shot at 3 rares guaranteed because you get the first look into each pack, and each pack has at least 1 rare that's in it. And so all of that kind of puts you in a really good position to get back some of the value. But then when you start to win, you start to earn back the gems that were there. And so if you can get to like 4 wins, you're going to earn back like 450 gems. And you're also going to get a pack as well. And you start to do the math on all that, and you say, well, wait a minute, I'm getting all these cards, and I'm getting 6 or 7 rares that I get to pick, along the way, rares that I want, not just rares that like are one of these 3, kind of thing. And all of that puts me in a pretty nice position to do it. We get to play, you get to have fun, and you might get up to like 6, 7 wins, in which case you're actually making gems and you're getting a chance to do it again. So everything you got was pure profit and free. I do enjoy drafting quite a bit. It is a different skill set because you're playing with commons and uncommons. It's more closely associated with the Mormir that we just did, where you don't know what you're going into. You have to pick them randomly over the choices that are in front of you. So you have to really keep your mind open on what you're going to do or what are the relationships with the cards. You don't want to pay attention to whether a card is really good or not really good. You'd be better off paying more attention to things like, can these 2 common cards work together to get a greater value than either one by itself? And so, especially half your picks are going to be in the second, the leftovers. If you can find value with those that enhance the value of your first half of the picks, oof, you can go really, really well. Choices. Corrupted is our first choice. It is in the latest set, which means that the commons and uncommons are something that we want. They're generally considered the more powerful, right? Because as time goes on, and this is kind of from about a year ago, and this is from way before then, and then this is from just right now. So Corrupted is probably where we want to go. We could get a Skrelv's Hive, which is a neat little enchantment. It spits out a might every turn. Costs you a life, but then once you can get them up to Corrupted, which means once they get 3 poison counters, all of your creatures that have Toxic also have lifelink that's on there. And so that lifelink really helps stabilize some things. And Skrelv's Hive is kind of a tough one to deal with for a lot of people. Or Rhea Ivor, which is a 3/4 for 4, so she doesn't have the greatest of stats. She has a battle cry, which says that whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1 until the end of the turn. That can go really well with things like mites and stuff like that, giving them some actual juice behind them. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, the next time a target creature that you pick would deal combat damage to one or more players, you get to prevent that damage and then make that many mites. So if you've got something that's like swinging for 2 and it's going to get a clear path in, she's going to make it swing for 3, and then you can say, I'm not that interested in the 3 damage, but I can make all these 1/1 mites over here that all provide toxic benefits, and it's kind of like a way to take a non-toxic damage like throwing creature and turn him into a major toxic threat by creating all those little mites. So there's a pretty clean path through all of that. Enchanted is a fun one. There's 2 different enchantments, and one of them is way too strong. The Weaver of Harmony is the most likely thing that we would get. It says all other enchantment creatures you control get +1, so it's like the Enchantment Lord, right? This little guy right here is a really, really good card as well, and he gives off a +1 when other enchantments come in. Ironically, he's not an enchantment. That's in there. And neither is the other rare, um, which is the Kami. Where is Enchanted right here? Yeah, the Kami of Transience. And so what the Kami of Transience does is also give out +1 counters whenever you cast an enchantment spell, but also when it dies, it comes back whenever you cast an enchantment spell back to your hand. So kind of like a nice little rig occurring, almost like a card draw, but a really solid creature that is constantly handing out +1 counters. If you use it like you're supposed to and keep it expendable, I find that it does a lot more than if you just try to pump it and leave it on your board. But it does carry trample, and so if you've already got a couple of +1 gifters, throwing them all onto the Kami and then making sure that you're using that trample ability is not a bad way to do it either. Enchanting is a really, really solid deck, and Corrupted is not a really, really solid deck. I think that Toxic is about to move its way out of the meta with things like Battles coming in. Battles are kind of like reverse planeswalkers. You don't have abilities once it's on the deck, but if you kill it, then you get the abilities, right? Versus like a planeswalker that hits the deck and has abilities, and then when it gets killed, the opponent doesn't have access to those abilities. So there's going to be a lot of distracting away from going to face or trying to connect with the opponent, which is what Corrupted is going to be desperate to try to do. So I'm going to lean to Enchanting. I think that the next set is really, really, really going to have a lot of synergies with enchantments, more than Toxic. I think Toxic has been a bit of a letdown as far as, is it fun? Is it something that we want to do? Everybody races to the most aggro or races to the most control because unfortunately it's just not the kind of play style that most people enjoy. So we'll take Enchanting and hope that we get something that works well with it. Now we got 2 from the latest set. One is Cutthroat, and what Cutthroat would give us is a Vran Executioner Thrain. We already have 4 of those, which we probably don't want that. Or a Drivnod Carnage Dominus, which is probably the weakest of all of those legendary, Phyrexian horror guys. He's got an 8 like damage, but only 3 toughness, so anything can block it and kill it. He doesn't even come with trample either. So if you had him, you really want to find a way to gift him some kind of toxic. Contagion, on the other hand, is a evolved Spinoderm, an Azuri Stalker of Spheres, or a Tekathal. So Tekathal is like another one of these Dominus kinds of creatures like the other one that we were looking at, but he's in blue. And what he does is whenever you proliferate, you get to proliferate again. A lot of fun synergies in the proliferation kinds of things. You've got cards like this, which is a removal spell that has proliferate just sort of slapped into the back of it to try to justify its cost. But it turns out proliferation is everybody's funnest tool that never gets used. There's not a lot of fun things that happen when proliferation's out there unless you really build around it, and it's tough. I do like proliferation in the blue-black deck. I do think that proliferation works well if you're going to try to do something with planeswalkers. So I do think that I'm kind of leaning into this, but we can take a look at the final one here, which is the Wolf Pack, which would be the Ascendant Pack Leader. It's a 2 two power, one toughness that gets a +1 counter on it whenever something really big with power 4 or greater hits the deck. I have been so unimpressed with this card. It's just so divorced from where its value is. Its value happens like on turn 5, and it's coming out on turn 1 all the time. It's really hard to kind of stare at that card, not cast it when the mana is just going to go to waste and sit there, and it doesn't live long enough because it's only got the 1 toughness when you cast it on the early side of things. So I know there are two other cards that are great. There's the Tovolar Huntmaster, which creates two green wolves when he comes in the deck, and then he can transform and make another two wolves. Like it's just kind of a deal. And then there's the Avabruck Caretaker, which is like the mythic card that offers hexproof to everybody. Puts 2 at the beginning of combat on your turn, puts 2 +1 counters on a target creature every single turn. It's just kind of nutty. So there is a top end threat that makes wolves dang near impossible to beat. But I'm going to go with the Contagion over here as a possible proliferation shenanigans, something that we just don't have a lot of cards towards. And we got an Azuri, which is kind of the, I don't want to call it good or bad, but we did get the Weaver of Harmony, the one that I really, really wanted. So we'll take it. Azuri is really expensive to get on their deal. I kind of wish that there was like a different trigger for Azuri, not a only when it ETBs, right? Because it's already a pretty expensive card. It's 4 mana for a 3/3, and then it's asking you to pay 3 more mana in order to proliferate twice. Proliferating twice and getting a card draw is excellent. Getting a card draw every time you proliferate is excellent. So he has like some capable kinds of things that are available, but his main, late game sort of thing that he does, which is to try to like finish him off, with the double proliferation. I just nobody can wait till turn 7 to put a 3/3 out. Like on turn 7, it's got to look like this. It can't look like this. It's not good. This thing's a 4/4 flyer that dies and then gives you cards back based on the number of oil counters. It only comes in with 1 oil counter, but again, proliferation can allow that to go really, really big. So this thing can kind of become a bit of like a card bomb as well for you. Thrumming Bird proliferates every time it connects. If you can keep this thing on the board, things can get out of control. Incubation Sac offers you a 3/3 once you can get a chance to sink 4 mana into it in a stalled board situation. This thing is incredibly good as far as the value proposition, just because you just have like, you can kind of build up some cards on your end, but still continue to make board presence over there. This will help you ramp up to get there by giving you an opportunity to drop an extra land. And then we got a removal spell, kind of a filler 2/2. Every time a land hits the deck, you get to throw a +1 counter onto something. That works really, really nice in this deck. I don't think that we were supposed to get a card like this, because all these proliferation opportunities, every time a creature comes in, you can pay 2 and get a proliferation. All of these proliferations make all those +1s go up another one. So it doesn't just affect toxic counters, it affects counters of all kinds. Counters on the incubation sac, check. Generous visitor handing out +1 counters when other ones come in, they're going to go up an extra 1. Mr. Watchful Blister Zoas, +1s goes up. So we've got a really nice synergistic deck with the +1 counters, coming from the enchantment side, and the proliferation coming from the enchantment side. I would actually say we could almost build a deck like this, where we're half enchantments and half proliferation. It's not something that I had considered as having the kind of synergies that they really do. We got a Thrumming Bird off the word go, and we have 3 mana, so we should be able to cast it. Sometimes throwing a Thrumming Bird out right off the bat isn't always the best answer, because of the fact that it's so vulnerable and people know the value of it. So maybe we hold back on it. We kind of want to see what comes next. We can definitely throw the Incubation Sac. And then Contagious Vorak is going to hand us out a... yeah, see, and like I'm okay with all that. So we're going to do our Vorak because he's a good blocker for the 2/2. Hopefully grab a land here. Would like to take a fast land, not a slow land. And keep moving on. Okay, so we have an interesting play coming up. We'll have our fourth mana, so we'll have a total of 4 mana to go. There's nothing scary about the Sunbathing Rootwalla until he gets to the point where he's got like maybe a domain 3 and he's got the 4 mana to go, right? I'm going to hold on to my removal spells over here because there's just not a lot of threat until later in the game with the Rootwalla. But I am going to consider this. If I do the Ascent, I'm actually going to give Toxic to my Vorak, and then I'm going to be able to proliferate that like quite a bit. So I'm digging it. We're going to do the Ascent, and then we'll say next, all attack, right? Get the Toxic counter up there, and then we'll throw in the Thrumming Bird. Now, he's probably got a removal spell, right? And it's going to be a shame, but all these other proliferation strategies that are out there are going to be available to us pretty soon over here. So let's see if he chooses to affect the board or if he chooses to take out our Thrumming Bird. If he doesn't, we're going to start proliferating quite a bit. That's perfect for us. He also seems to have picked up, we'll say no on the block, you know, the proliferation kinds of things. What I would say is we could Master's Rebuke this guy over here, right? Boop, boop, boop. And then we can all attack and then proliferate up, submit 2, and you can see how that got out of hand pretty fast. We still have a removal spell on our hands. We're only facing another 2 damage, and things are moving in the right direction. If another flyer hits the deck, we'll dose it, proliferate. That'll get them to a corrupted state. We don't have any corrupted triggers, but this is an enchantment, and this gives out +1 counters when an enchantment spell gets cast. So we would want to lead off with 1 and then throw down 2. And hey, look, a flyer. Who'd have thunk? So let's do it just like we said. Boom, boom, and we can put it on there just to make it a little bit more robust, right? And then we'll submit 3 to make it a lot more robust. And yeah, we'll do it again. Make it even bigger, more robust. Good game. This is what I'm saying about like the enchantments having such a nice synergy with the proliferations. The 2 decks just work so nice together. Definitely used our cards to the greatest effect possible. I don't see us threatening lethal on the next turn, but we are pretty much done. Bearer of Memory comes in and doesn't do anything. This guy comes in, and if you pay 3, you proliferate, but when you do proliferate, you get to draw a card. So putting him down early is worth it. We don't need to attack with that. We just do this, and then we get a proliferate, which is going to give us a card. Submit 3, draw the card. And now we've got this little Blister Zoa. But you can, I mean, this little 1/1 Thrumming Bird is a 5/5. Like, wow, did that get up big? They're big. A 5/5 flyer. You know, remember when we were playing Mormir? We were hoping for 5/5 flyers with 7 or 8 mana. You know, we only have a total of 5, right? So having something like this that's gotten an opportunity to continually just boost the +1 counters, I think, are worth a lot more than some of these kinds of toxic counters can be. Oh, he knows what he's doing. This is neat. I totally dig that card. So there's a legendary rule that says that only 1 legendary creature of a kind can be on the board at the same time. Predation Steward comes in with 2 oil counters and lets you do stuff. Are we really 1 shy of the Blister Zoa? I think we are. Ouch, kabibbles, right? I don't see a lot going on here, so we'll just go next, and we'll just go attack, and then we'll just get blocked. And that's okay. And then we will develop the board. Territorial Mao. And I think that's game. No, maybe not. Maybe not. My man has stabilized and figured out a way around. One more mana gives us the Watchful Blister Zoa. This thing is getting big too. It ain't over yet. This thing will go back to an 8/8. We did get the mana. Neither of these cards are impactful enough. And then now we've got the flyer. And that might be enough to get a scoop. No. He's got 3 blockers. We've got 4 attackers. Unfortunately, that means only the smallest thing is going to get by unless we're attacking with our most evasive flyer up here. So I think that that might be the end. We'll see. He might have another removal spell. Blister Zoa might go down. We're going to find out. We had a couple, so it's only fair. This little throwing bird did a lot of good work, though. Yeah, we'll say no on the attack. If this was 2 toughness instead of 1, we'd win the game. Because he can only block 4, and we would have, he can only block 3, and we'd have 4 people that have enough for lethal. As it stands right now, he's got to come up with an answer for the flyer right now. And if he doesn't, we win. I think he's going to end up doing a... Nice. I dig it. Scry 2, draw a card. If the spell was kicked, you get to put a land card from your hand onto it. I think he kicked it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He only had 2 left over. He did not kick it. So he just scrying. Well, no, he did. Yeah, he did kick it. A land, huh? Okay. Let's just get wide, I think. So when I say get wide, I'm looking at like 4, 5, 6, 7 different things. This is 4, 5, 6, 7 would probably be the best for us to do. So let's go with you. And getting that +1 counter on you is huge. And then I think I'd rather just make the remove an oil counter from the Predation Steward, and it gets 2/2 until the end of the turn. Activate only as a sorcery. I do think that that's going to happen late on the game, so I think we just take this thing out right now. And then we're just going to attack with this. It is a 5/5. He has to block. He doesn't have the mana to do anything to present it. And so, yeah, he gets the card, but we're wide enough now to get around his board state. He's got to deal with the top as well. If these 2 creatures don't both hit the deck, even if they do, I think we win. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ground guys, and he's only got 4 blockers. So, yay. You can't handle both. Four to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he can't get around it. Tis game, my friend. Tis game. I can see your card. Shinko? Hmm? But the game is over. Just to point this out, right? This game has been totally in hand. He's threatening 16. He's threatening lethal. Like, you can still lose games that you have had, like, really good. We had that guy on the back foot. He was stabilizing, and we still could have found a way to lose that game. So I hand it to him for sticking in there. Goshintai of Ancient War is a super fun shrine. It pings for however many shrines you've got on the deck. And if you end up with something like 3 or 4 shrines, throwing a 3-mana fireball for 1 mana is just game ending. like game ending. You could just go right to face. You could go and ping them back. There's just so many cool things you get a chance to do. So very, very solid. Definitely a good, strong deck that they gave us because we picked the really, really strong Weaver of Harmony and we paired it with the amazing Proliferate ability. Should we try to build a deck real quick before? Yeah, we got a little bit of time. We can go do the Mormir one in just a sec. Let's go try to build a deck while this idea is in our heads. So what we're going to do is say plus, and we're going to type in the word proliferate first in order to just grab all the proliferate cards we own. And we're going to stick them in. We'll mess around with colors and stuff like that later. We have a bloated contaminator. This thing proliferates on ETB, enter the battlefield. This thing proliferates if you don't pick up a mana. This thing proliferates with an extra 2 mana after you cast it. Whenever another creature comes in, doubles your proliferations. All of that stuff is pretty solid. I don't like this card, but I'll just grab it for now. And I don't like this card, but I'm going to grab it for now. This is the cheapest proliferation that I can afford. I love the proliferation built into these cards. They're all really good. Maybe not. Very good card draw. We're going to avoid the black and the red proliferates. Not that they're bad in any way, shape, or form, but we're also going to look for those counters in green, I think was the best way to do it, because we want to be able to hand out as many +1/+1 counters as possible, right? So Roaring Earth was the card that we were really excited about. It's an enchantment. Being able to get a +1 counter every time an enchantment hits the deck is really, really good. There's the Kami of Transience that I was talking about before. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, yeah, you get that stuff, which is great, except it's not an enchantment, unfortunately. He does put +1 counters on things when they come in. That's pretty good. What else can we find? He can kind of ninjutsu out a +1 counter. This thing does do that. This thing makes +1 counters on artifacts hit the deck, but we don't see any artifact synergies happening just yet. I definitely want more +1 counter engines. Does this thing put a +1 counter on the chosen creature you control? Then the chosen creatures fight each other? I don't mind that. That's actually kind of cool. It's a removal spell that puts +1 counters onto it. This thing puts a +1 counter on one target, but it's so expensive. It doesn't make sense. And this thing does it just until the end of the turn, so they don't last. This thing gets a +1 counter on it if you control another wolf, and that can be kind of fun on the low end. A good way to like sort of build up. We'll check those out. That's an easy +1 counter to achieve. Does this one get a +1 counter on it? I like that too. That's not bad. It doesn't have a lot of cross synergies to it on the +1 counter side, but it does do enough. As far as blue and green is concerned, create a token that's a copy, except it's a 1/1 green. Yeah. It's in our colors. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker. That's pretty incredible. It's worth splashing the other color and maybe looking at some lands that are dual, like green and white or blue and white, as a way to get that out there. And then this comes with a shield counter on it. A shield counter will, you get to remove it. That's kind of cool too. We're going to take that because we can just keep proliferating that shield counter up. And so as he's getting hurt, it's no big deal. When this thing hits the deck, it gives out a +1 counter, and it's an enchantment, which would trigger out some +1 counters on some of our other enchantment creatures. So we certainly have way too many cards now, but I don't hate what I'm looking at here. So this is, at most I'd want 2 copies at most, and I don't think I'd want a single copy of this. You have to tap it when it comes in order to get that to work. That's just not going to work. I certainly like these as powerful proliferation, board control, card draw. Like they're all, like I like it just about everything. But I'm not a real good hold your mana, just wait until their turn and try to pop them out kind of thing. I don't think the proliferation, pays for the. Uh, I don't think I don't think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm not so sure that we're going to need the thirsting roots as a cheap proliferation since we're going to have a lot of other ways to proliferate. Azuri is another one which I guess we'll hold on to it, but it's not the most exciting card. These all work together real nice, but this is pretty janky, and this is pretty janky, and this is a pretty janky. This is strong, and Contagious Vorax are good. They're not great. Tainted Observers are great, especially if you're looking for those proliferations when something enters. You can put a Gallic Readers and a Tainted Observer out there, and then every single time a creature hits the deck, here comes a +1 counter, and here comes a proliferation, make it 2. Pretty cool. Duel for Dominance is a good removal spell, so we've got removal in the 6 different forms up here. I kind of think the Vorak, as good as it is, just doesn't really have the synergies in our deck that we're hoping for. The Venomous Brutalizer is also kind of expensive to get the proliferation out the deck. I mean, if we were in the Toxic strategy, it totally makes sense, but we're just not, so I'm willing to take that down. And then maybe one Jukai Preserver. The cool part about this is you can channel it. I'm going to go back up on that. That's pretty good. You're going to channel this to put a +1 counter on up to 2 creatures. And so if you've got some proliferation happening, you're going to get a lot of +1 counters all over the place. So we are handing out counters like there's no tomorrow. And then we are proliferating said counters like there's no tomorrow. The wolves, if 2 of the wolves hit, then uh, they're going to continue to get +1 counters, and then you're going to continue to boost them up. All of that sounds good. We'll get rid of you because we're just going to sneak the white in on some dual lands that are over here. And if I had to get rid of one, it's probably you. Um, we would want to be at least 24 lands at the minimum. But we have a really nice low to the ground curve, so we'll just go with the 21. We are blue-green, and this is green. So that's what we'll pick, right? And say confirm. And then we'll go with blue, and then blue-green. Yay! We're on point. Let's go check out the land, and just kind of look over our deck one more time, right? Blue and white. And so blue-white, we have 2 or more lands, 2 of those. Green, this is all blue-black. We're just looking for white right now to sneak in there. 2 or more lands in blue-green, which is good. Here's the 3 colors, blue or white. I'm going to take Raffine's Tower. It's not the greatest. We do have green. Green-white is one of the colors that we're looking for, 2 or more. I do the 2 or more because at least there's an opportunity for it to hit the deck and not be tapped, right? And then that gives us what? 2, 4, 6, 7 white sources, right? I would like one more, maybe. Um, yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll do one of each of our slow lands, and then we'll take out this one since it's kind of slow and it doesn't have that extra benefit. So we're cutting 9 cards. Looking at, down here, we've got a little bit more green in the lower end than blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, wait, I did that wrong. Boop, boop. So what that means now is a little bit more likely to get green into our hands than blue in the beginning. Not a lot, but we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different blue sources, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 green sources. So pretty solid on our deal. And so we're proliferating chance. Not chance like take a chance on me. It does say we're a 3-color deck, but we know we're just splashing that white we're really a two-color deck, and we don't have a single mana that's not in one of our two main colors. So we shouldn't have too many mana problems with only two cards, both of which probably game breakers if we can get our hands on it, because the shield counters and then having the proliferates out there, or the broker's ascendancy mixed with the disciplined duelist, we're going to make some really beefy attackers really quickly. Let's give it a shot. I'm not sure we have enough removal, but we have some. And as far as like the rare count is concerned on this, it's like little to nothing. So I think I counted 3 rares. We've got the Azuri. Um, I was trying to think about other cards that we could have put in there too. The other enchantment creature that we just got on the rare didn't make it. This is one of the rares that we've got that's in there, but for the most part, we're looking at a lot of commons and uncommons. If I keep it, I am hoping to draw a land because I got nothing on the board until turn 4. I am going first, so let's go, I guess. We'll take our slow land and toss it out there. Oh, I wanted the one that had a life attached to it, not a card draw. And I've got card draw built in over here. Yeah. We can go with a slow land again. It would have been a fast land later, but it's fine. He's looking at this going, what the what? That's going to hurt. I guess I will. Put out the Thrumming Bird just to prevent the 2 toxic damage from coming our way. He may not sacrifice the Blanchbright Stalker. Here he may. He may have a safekeeping spell, and this might be like a what's that? Rot Priest deck. Ouch, kibibbles. Yeah, see, we got no creatures. I didn't see that coming. Ugh, yuck, yuck, and yuck. Well, we're going to get 2. He's got a proliferation of his own. We don't have anything that's going to be able to block that until... Well, we do have the Jukais. They can block it. Sure, another bloated Contaminator comes down? If I was him, that's what I'd play. And we'll do this. Boom. At least we can block 1. Unfortunately, the answer is block the Brutalizer because it's worth 3. And I don't think we have the capability of waiting. And so by not having that ability to get on the board, this is why the new set sucks, right? Because this game's already over. There's no way for me to come back in time, right? He's going to end up getting an opportunity to get 6, 7, 8 different kinds of toxic on me before I get a chance to play the next card. And that's just too much. I mean, to put that in damage terms, that creature is hitting for 6 and he's only a 3-mana creature? Like, ouch. And what 3-mana creature swings for 6? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, 1 removal spell and you're dead in 3 turns? Oof. That's too fast. And that's why there's just been a real big backlash. People just don't like it. And I kind of agree with them. I have been very frustrated because you just don't get an opportunity to do anything. Like, you're like, great, I didn't have 1 card in my hand when I started, and so I'm clearly dead. Cards like this are good, but it's, this isn't going to hold the line. And so there's not a lot that I can do, for the first 2 or 3 turns. If he throws some toxic thing that would kill me out there, like, it's over. Game's already over. We'll do this. And then we will hopefully get a land. We'll throw the Thrumming Bird out first, and then throw the land out, let the Roaring Earth drop a 1-drop onto the Thrumming Bird, giving it something to proliferate on its attack. We got the land, so we throw the Thrumming Bird. Oh, I did it. Oh, yeah, no, I did it right. Whew, I got mad. Thought I did it wrong already. Here we go. He's going to cast a burn spell, and he's going to kill my thrumming bird, and it's going to make his electrostatic infantry bigger, and then he's going to attack in. I'm going to bounce his electrostatic infantry after said burn spell. What? Didn't play out the way I thought. Oh, it did. It did. It did. It did. It did. Yeah. It was going to happen. We knew it. Okay, so again, we could put the creature out and, tempt fate a little bit. Unfortunately, I did that in the wrong order. I should have had the Juke. Well, I couldn't put the Jukai out without playing the land first. So that did not go as bad as I thought. But getting double proliferation on Jukai would be better than blocking 2 or 3 damage. Assuming there's another burn spell coming my way in 3, 2, 1. He's in a Spells Matter deck. Everything does better when their spells get sent off, and so he's going to have a lot of cheap spells that bounce my creatures. He's going to have a lot of cheap spells that burn my creatures. And it's just going to continue to open the path for these little guys to get in, kind of deal. So there's no way he would attack unless he's got a trick. So, like, there's no way for me to say, yeah, I'm going to do this. He's just going to boost something up, and it's going to make the infantry bigger, and it's going to cause the kill. Oh, what a shocker. No way. You had a boost up? Like, it was just so obvious. Okay, so first thing we'll do is Serum Snare that. Get it out of there. Sorry, your counters are gone. Yeah, we'll take you. Next thing we should do is Serum Snare. It's neither day or night, and the battlefield sorcery spells cost less. Yeah, we can get rid of that. We don't need that. Goodbye. And we'll proliferate that. And I don't really have enough to attack in. I need something on the board fast. That was a better turn for us because now he's got to spend his mana to reestablish board presence again, and it won't be triggering things like the third path iconoclast. That took all of his mana to get the Skrillex out. I think I'm going to do this first. Yeah, we'll take the dose, or the forest, or the thrumming bird. I think I'm going to take the thrumming bird. Yeah, that's fine. And then we'll do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7. Let's go for it. All of his spells are cheaper. He's got one more creature in hand. A full swing right now is 5 damage. He's going to have lethal on the next turn no matter what I do. I just don't have the mana to create a board presence to stop it. I'm going to let the Storm Skrillex go. That will give me a solid blocker. Nah, I'm not going to let the Storm Skrillex blow. Unfortunately, I just have to block. I have to minimize the amount of damage I take. I'll throw the pup out there, I think. 2 or more lands means I can get this to happen, but it doesn't affect the board. And I think I'm dead on the next turn, no matter how I do this, right? And we'll say no on the attacks. So, assuming 2 gets by, and then 2 more creatures get by. The attack in situation is 3, 7. So that's lethal. This is 4. I can't. I got to stop all but 3 damage, and I can't. So that's a good game. At least we got a chance to play, right? Because I can only block 2. So if I take the top 2 threats out of the game, I'm still looking at more than 3 damage with the Storm Skrillex up there. Tough. Tough, tough, tough. Okay, that's our clock on the day. We didn't actually get here. Well, okay, we'll do one more. We need blue spells. We'll try our deck again. I would say that our deck lacks creatures. We focus really a lot on the synergy and not a lot on the board presence. If you've noticed, we've not had more than 1 or 2 creatures on the deck, and everybody else has been able to control that either through removal, because 1 removal spell is devastating for us when you've got your eggs in that 1 basket, or they are just going around us and kind of flowing around us by getting wider than us. What we need is some better board presence than things like the Thrumming Bird provides. And so as good as the Thrumming Bird could be, I think it's a trap. It's certainly not something that we want to lead off with as far as options are concerned. We'll do a slow land here in hopes of getting a fast land and allowing us to get Roaring Earth out. Yeah. Yep. Now we can pop in Tainted Observer. Well, I'll tell you what, I got a better idea. We're going to do Thrumming Bird since he's got a Scrap Gorger and he's not threatening anything. And then we'll do the +1 on it because it can really turn itself into a pretty scary threat pretty quick here. Good game. I mean, a dose would be great, I guess. Yeah, we'll be all right. Unfortunately, I don't see the dose. We do have the next land drop already, so we could take the proliferation creature here. Interestingly enough, this is what we should be doing, right? Just proliferating up the size of our Thrumming Bird, smacking in above what the Phyrexian Obliterator does, proliferating our way up to success as fast as we can. What scares me is he's just going to throw a fight spell, and it's just going to cause us to have to get rid of all of our... yeah, see. Yeah. It's a stupid card. That's all I'm going to say. Let's just quit. Well, I guess we're trying to play cards, right? Double Phyrexian Obliterator with perfect draws on fight spells. Like, I'm not sure anybody can beat that. Like, if you get that, it's just, like, there's no answer to this. And look at this. Mythic card, rare card, mythic card. We've had another mythic card played against us. Like, how are you coming up with this? No, don't worry, we ain't got no land. There's nothing we can do. How do they come up with that as like, oh yeah, that looks like a fair matchup? There's nothing fair about that. We get a chance to play some blue cards. We'll try that again. But Standard just blows right now. Like, there's nothing worse than trying to play Constructed in Standard, and it's all because of Phyrexia All Will Be One. It's all because of the, like, just kind of dark and evil nature of the way that they design the cards to basically take away all the skill, take away and make it completely randomized, like just luck. Did you get the Rot Priest? If you did, you win the game. If you didn't, there's nothing you can do. You're toast. And it's like, who wants to do that? Like, not fun. I don't know. I am shocked that they took that opportunity to I don't know, destroy would be the wrong word, but they took a really fun format and then they just crushed it and killed it like on the next time around. That's okay. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Oops. Such a habit there. Oof. Hey, I love me a fairy vandal. Nice. Okay, we're gonna have to get rid of the fairy vandal. I think we don't really have a creature to come in the deck, so there's not a lot that Gallic Raiders can do. The question is, are we scared of the fairy vandal? Not really. So let's do a duel for dominance and get rid of the pestilent siphoner, right? Or we could do a broker's ascendancy, but we'll do that later. It just makes more sense to take away the threat of the vandal or the toxic, because even though it's only one damage, jeez, go, gish, 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 gish. All right, no, I'm not worried about that. But what am I going to do? We need a creature card. Here's a creature that we can actually cast. That's always good. Uh-oh. Game. Game. So is there a toxic theme here? Or not? I'm confused. There's something really wrong with either my computer or the game. I'm going to go with my computer on that one. I guess here. Mm-hmm. And can't get a creature to save our lives. We will dose you. Yeah, that's fine. Mm, we would die to that. We'll dose the Fairy Vandal next. Or actually, we'll bounce the Fairy Vandal and we'll dose the Bilious Skull Dweller if we can get one more. Well, no, it's too late. Okay. He's just going to remove our creature. These two are going to come in for toxic damage. There's nothing left for us to do. Again, look at, like, we've got one creature, right? We've just got one little creature, and that's the problem with our deck. We do not have a board presence. We are way too focused on the proliferate and counters. And while it's fun to be able to get those counters, we're never getting past 2 or 3. Like, nothing is ever effective. Let's get some more cards that we hate. I mean, from Phyrexia, all will be one. Hey, we got our first Expand the Sphere. We got a wild card, so we're up to 18 rare wild cards. I do have to say that's one of the things that we've done such a good job at is holding on to our rare cards, especially with a brand new set coming around the corner. There's an opportunity for us to build whatever deck we want if we want to try to make a ranked run and kind of push through in the last couple weeks. We can do it. So it'll be really fun. A good chance to try out the new stuff. And we got a Filigree Silex. Nothing wrong with this card. It's sacrifice it and destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of oil counters, right? This is actually a card that would work good in our proliferate deck because putting an oil counter on it and then proliferating it up really, really quickly means that we can board wipe very fast their side of the equation. Think about what we just saw, right? He had 4 creatures, we had 1 little creature. This thing could just say, you'll sacrifice your 1, but the rest of them will go away as well. So if you get to 3 oil counters on this thing, you're good to go. Just whoop, board wipe, reset. We put our 1 creature out there, and they're having to start over again. I do kind of dig this. I think it's a better card than most people give it credit for. So we're happy. In the store, there is cool lands for the new set, and they're a bit expensive. Lands are always kind of expensive because they're the kind of cosmetic that you get a chance to use all the time. So I have a tendency not to lean into them. And I think that's it. It's school time. So I am going to call it right there. All in all, a little bit of fun here with Mormir, a little bit of fun in the jump in. Tried to build a deck. Oh yeah, let's fix the deck. We have to fix this thing. My bad. Okay, cards that didn't do anything, right? Cards that should do good things, but aren't getting there because we're not getting past this stage of the game. Cards that are good, but look at this: 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. This is 1-1. This is why we're dying. We don't have any presence until we get up here, and we're just not surviving against Toxic long enough to get up there. Filigree Silex is great, but again, 1-1s, we got to fix something going on down there. So let's go take a look at how we could get some beef on the board. And blue does not carry the beef. And by beef, I mean like the larger toughness on the creatures, things that can kind of sustain attacks, hold off creatures, that kind of stuff. So here's a Fae who does hand out 2+1 counters to itself, but not for very, very long time. This thing trades up. It's kind of nice. It does have Toxic 2. It does kind of fit some of the proliferation sort of threat that's in the game. I think the Gala Grader should go. I don't think there's really a ramping opportunity in today's day and age. And the Pack Song pups take up way too many creatures for way too um, small of an ability. Like getting to +1 or +2. Almost everything will be able to capture counters. That's not what we're concerned about. So no reason to do that. I'm trying to go as fast as I can here. Here's a Kami of Transience, a pretty solid 2-drop that can get bigger and it can come back, can kind of keep us in the situation where we can continue to affect the board. I swear, there it is, the Weaver of Harmony. I like the Weaver of Harmony. I like the Kami of Transience. Shigeki is just a decent blocker, but you're constantly pulling it off the field, so it doesn't really solve our problem. Nicholas Brawler, or Nishobi's Brawler over here is a 2-mana with 3 toughness that probably is going to have 3 on the positive side, so it's probably one of our better cards as far as being a tough guy to come down on turn 2. So I kind of dig that. She's also going to give out Death Touch and have Death Touch, which is going to be worth a lot in this situation. I think this Experimental Augury is not the card of choice, in my opinion. It's nothing against the Proliferate. It's just we're trying to affect the board, and that's just not happening. I'm wondering if we do the word enchantment, right? And then we do the word creature. And we do this to see what enchantment creatures. This is pretty good as far as stabilization. It's not great, but it's pretty good. Um, 3-mana 3/2 isn't the answer. This is an enchantment that comes in and out, though. You know what? There's a couple of interesting synergies with Generous Visitor and Shigeki that allow you to kind of boost up pretty quick over there. I'm trying to hold on for dear life with this Thrumming Bird. But I feel a lot stronger with the creature count in the 2-mana spot right now. And I think that I would just drop this Jukai as an example. And so enchantments look pretty good, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's not bad. 16. These aren't enchantments. Other things to look at would be like creature count. And in the creature count, we got a lot more creatures, and they all have not 1/1s except these 6. Ooh, that's still a lot. Maybe we don't want as many of those. Just being glass-jawed like they are. Maybe we do go back to the augury for a little bit here. No. We're looking for getting rid of the word creature here, right? Yeah. And what else? I could live without one of those. Boop. Okay, so we still have, some proliferation happening. We still have some neat enchantment synergies happening over here. But we've got a lot more bodies that have 3 toughness, 2 toughness but bounce back. 3, like a lot harder to attack into because of the 3 damage that it's going to deal. And then +1s for enchantment creatures, which means that Shigeki is a 2/4. It means that Kami of Transience. You know what? Now that I'm looking at it, we don't have enchantment creatures. We've got this one. Nope, we're going to try it. For 1 extra mana, I might be able to do that with the Broker's Ascendancy. Oh, it's only enchantment creatures, huh? Hmm. Nope. Gotta go. Okay. Say done. And we really got to go. Let's hope that that fixes the name of the game. Right now, we shouldn't be as frustrated on turn 2 about our board presence. And if we can get to something like turn 4, we should be able to double cast some creatures on the board, allowing things like Broker's Ascendancy to develop, allowing things like the Jukai Preserver to develop. We just haven't really been there. Our removal just hasn't really come into play. We've just kind of been on our back foot each and every time. It doesn't surprise me, given the nature of how it works, but there you go. All right, this has been a fun ride. Sorry it's going to be over. I'll, like I said, turn some of these videos into more bite-sized, 10 to 15-minute kind of recaps on the day. Put a little voice overlay over them. But if you've watched, I really appreciate it.